All right, everybody, welcome to our MFIT program. The purpose of this presentation, we're just going to go over the basics of the program itself, kind of why we're doing this, and again, what to expect as we go along. Okay, and so again, these are the things that we're going to talk about today. Just kind of explaining, the why behind the program, and kind of giving a broader view of what health and fitness really is, especially as we do get older, as well as again, just talking about what to expect. So I want to begin with just kind of a brief story about my dad. All right. So my dad's name is Jim. Always a super athlete growing up. He was always my inspiration as far as getting into sports and getting active. And really, he's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing today. But he was, for you Gator fans in the house, he was he played for the Gators for 4 years. His claim to fame was his freshman year was Spurrier's Heisman year. So like that, I never stop hearing about it to this day. But he was always super active growing up, and as I was growing up, and I remember, one of the ways that I started training was, at 13 years old, benching on his old bench that, he used to go to college, and eventually it broke on me and almost crushed me. But, that said, one day in his mid 30s, my dad always used to like lift weights and run, kind of the stuff that we do. He was running, and he heard this like pop in his upper back, like several pops, and he basically just like collapsed to the floor, and he couldn't run anymore, he couldn't do anything. Took him to the hospital, and apparently he herniated several discs in his cervical spine at once. And so my dad's a lawyer, he sits a lot, he has since then. And like in college, he did a lot of stupid training. They did steroids back then. They did power cleans. He got hit in the head 4,000 times. So he just did a lot of damage to his body that he didn't even know about. And so after that, he really couldn't do what he did before, and so he started to get less and less active. And to the point now where several years ago, he had the longest heart surgery in the history of the Cleveland Clinic. And I don't just attribute that to him being more sedentary, but now he can't do anything basically. Like he wants to exercise, he wants to be active, and it kills him that he can't. But he can barely walk without pain. He can barely stand for long periods without pain. And I guess my point is that, I mean, my dad was an active dude, and he still desires to be. And it's like life and the habits that he adopted throughout his life, sitting and being, kind of trained the way he did, took it away from him. And it's not that it's too late for him, but he's too stubborn to do anything about it now. But my point is that as we get older, as we go into the same cycle of getting over 35, things change a bit, and as a result, we have to start to take more things into account, like recovery, like mobility. And what I see with a lot of guys is they're going to gravitate towards one area, like they love to strength train, so they just do that, or they do CrossFit and they just do that, or they just run, or maybe they do nothing at all. But the point is that in this program, one of the big takeaways that I hope you take is going to be just the variety of things that we do on a weekly basis to distribute our health, and not only get in great shape, get the body that you want, but also feel good doing it and be able to repeat this, throughout our lifetimes. So so that's my mantra for this program is, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And I think that that is my biggest thing is, understanding kind of where I'm coming from, knowing myself, knowing what I am capable of and what I can, both from I guess, both mentally and physically is very helpful. And so hopefully, throughout this process, I'm able to coach you through that, and, you're able to take some of that away. So my question for you is, what do you want to do? Okay, is bodybuilding your goal? Okay, do you want to look like this? Okay, is this appealing to you? Do you want to do CrossFit? Okay, is CrossFit something that is your goal? Do you want to play a sport? Okay, is this something that you want to kind of wrap your head around? Or do you want to just sit on the couch and watch Game of Thrones? And none of these things are wrong, okay? But they kind of lead me to the point of kind of where we're going with this whole program, and what we want to get out of it. So understanding outcomes means that all of those styles of training, bodybuilding, you get huge and jacked. CrossFit, you compete in CrossFit. Game of Thrones, you sit on your ass, you get back pain. I don't know, but all of these things and training for all of these things only kind of leave a lot on the table. So, as we get older and we kind of get a more well-rounded view of what we're doing, the point is to kind of embrace all of the elements that we're going to cover in this program. And going forward, even after this or whatever, just looking at these things as elements that you want to maintain, to maintain your ability to do anything. And realizing that all of these things that we train, strength, cardio, mobility, are just means to an end of getting to where we want to be, as well as feeling good. So that so what is fitness then? Basically for me, my definition of fitness is the ability to achieve and dominate a desired activity. So that could be fat loss, it could be playing a sport, it could be feeling better. But in order to do that, we need all of these things to some degree. Okay, so strength is simply the ability to produce maximal force. Mobility is the ability to actively get into positions to produce force and endurance tasks. So, people always say they need flexibility, they need to be flexible, so therefore you're going to stretch. My question for you is why? Okay, what do you need to be able to do? All right, it's not about being flexible, it's about being able to do the stuff that you want to do. All right, so we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that, in parts of our program, but if all you want to do is be healthy, and not feel too bad, then the program, the basic stuff is going to achieve that. I mean, you can literally do that in 5 minutes a day, as you'll find in this program, but it doesn't take hours of stretching. And so if you spend, you go to the gym and you spend 30 to 45 minutes stretching, when you're not going to be an Olympic gymnast, you're wasting your time. And so again, we don't have much time when we talk about our lives today in our 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. So let's look at what we can do most efficiently to get in and get out. Okay, cardio is another thing, all right? That's simply the ability to repeat the tasks that we desire. So, if you're going to play soccer several times a week in a league, you're going to need more cardio than you would if you're just, trying to lose body fat even. So, you know, really just sticking to a plan and understanding like what is the bare minimum that you need to do to be successful really is a big mantra for me. I don't want to waste any time because I don't have that time either. Even though I own a gym, I'm still there working all the time. So again, it's kind of like, minimal effective dose for me. And then the main thing is recovery. It's how you feel, right? If you feel like shit all the time, um, that's not gonna be conducive to you getting anywhere. So these are things like getting sleep, the way that you look at this stuff and stress throughout the day. I mean, all of those things are important factors, but recovery is probably the most important because if you can't recover from any of the things that you do above, your body can't really build anything up. And in fact, you'll actually get worse. You'll get weaker. Your body fat will accumulate because your body's trying to protect itself. So I don't want you to run yourself into the ground so much that you're aching at night or you can't sleep or, you're worried about, oh, do I need to eat this or that? Like I guess my point with this is that, do the thing that is easiest for you and you might not get exactly where you want to be, but you will get somewhere a hell of a lot better than where you are right now. So consider that as we go along. And then, the main thing, training time distribution. Again, we're looking at like minimum effective dose here. Okay. And you can probably barely see these things at the bottom, but this would be, like if all of these things, these elements that we talked about, nutrition, cardio, strength, mobility, and recovery, are things that we want to address somewhat, to varying degrees based upon what we're looking for, but yet we just do one. Like if you like strength training, so you just gravitate towards that, then you're going to make sacrifices. You're probably going to have things in your life that are undesirable, such as aches and pains due to overstressing your joints, a lack of endurance. But you'll be very strong, and you'll be able to do certain things. Whereas let's say cardio is what you want to do. I mean, you're going to have better endurance. You're going to probably not be winded at any given time, but you're going to be weak, and there will be compromises that you make. So then what we want is to kind of balance these things out. And we're going to do this simply by following a schedule. Okay. And the schedule that I'm going to present to you in this program is something that you can repeat pretty much throughout your life to get to where you need to be. Again, you might make small tweaks, but you know, training 2 to 3 days a week and maybe doing 2 to 3 days of, and a supplemental activity like cardio or recovery work based upon what you need kind of is the template for success. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. So when we talk about the program schedule, this is what we're looking for from MFIT. Okay, we have 3 days a week of mandatory strength training. Okay, so workout A, workout B, workout C. Okay, those are included in your trainer eyes, and these are the intangibles. Okay, and so with that, what we're looking at is a 60-minute workout, and then if you're with me at my gym, I'm also going to do a prolonged 30-minute what is called kin stretch, okay, where we actually just go through a prolonged stretch. We do mobility work. We kind of get work on feeling good after that. Okay, if you're not, I'm going to post. I included some mobility workouts to do on your own. So that's not a mandatory thing, but it's something that I do recommend. And if nothing else, taking a little bit after your workout to cool down and to stretch, that's going to be, important. And I'll be posting information on that in our groups as we go along. Now, Tuesday, Thursday are optional days. The base program is it's a 3-day week workout, so you don't have to do anything on those days, but I would highly recommend choosing something that allows you to get closer to your goal. For example, if your goal throughout this program is to build muscle, okay, and put on a little bit of weight, which is my goal, what I'm going to personally be doing are bodybuilding workouts. And again, that's a PDF file that I included in our Trainerize. Whereas if your goal is to increase mobility, and to get to move better, and just not to feel, to feel better, the mobility option, which is another workout that I included in our Trainerize, is what I would do, 2 days a week, and I would stay for the kin stretch after our workouts. If fat loss is your goal, I included a metabolic workout, or two metabolic workouts actually, that you can do in your off days. And again, those are ones that they're not necessarily exercises that are going to make you super sore, but they're going to help to improve your cardiovascular endurance. And then Saturday, all right, Saturday is our challenge workout. All right, Saturday is something that I want everybody to do. I said it's a 3-day week program. Our fourth day is not necessarily something where we are attempting to, let's say, build muscle or anything. It's just we're going to blow it out. We're all going to work out together. We're going to leave everything on the table in this workout. And this is one of those ones where we do it together, or I'll post it, you do it on your own and you post your times. All right. And the reason that we're doing this is just to, recognize what we can do. All right. It's to push yourself to your absolute limit. It's the last day of the week. It's a pretty short workout. It's not going to make you super sore or it'll definitely make you tired, but not necessarily super sore. But it's just one of those things that, we do together to blow it out. It's a challenge. It's fun. We see what we can do. So that's definitely something that I either want you to, do on your own, post your time and Trainerize in our group, or come work out with me on Saturday at 10 a.m. And then Sunday, complete rest day. Okay, do nothing, relax, go for a walk. Actually, enjoy time with your family, play golf, do whatever you love. All right, but do not work out. Don't do anything extra. Get away from the gym. Enjoy yourself. So as far as our program goes, so what to expect in each workout. So this is our program structure. This is what each workout is going to look like. All right, we're going to do about a 10-minute warm up. All right, we've got 15 minutes of what are called main lifts. Okay, which is working on strength. These are kind of like the drivers of our program. Okay, so always want to put things like squatting, deadlifting, bench pressing, and even doing chin ups at the beginning of our program, because those are the things that work the most muscle. Okay, so those are always the things we're always going to do first. In the future, you're putting together a program for yourself. In the beginning, do that stuff first because you're freshest and you're going to be able to, and our goal with each one of those lifts is to add to them. Ideally, I'm adding 5 to 10 pounds a week, or I'm adding reps or something. All right, after that, we're going to do what is called about 30 minutes of what is called metabolic strength training. Okay, and so this is strength training with and without weights. But again, this is stuff that's going to make us sore, but we're doing this stuff for time. All right, so this is either things like time circuits, where we take 2 exercises, we're going to perform them back to back for 8 minutes, or we're doing like 30 seconds of, push-ups, 30 seconds of, deadlifting, like things like that, where again, we're just working for time to improve our endurance as well as our strength and build some muscle. We finished the workout with what is called a finisher. Okay, 5 minutes of just a challenge that I'll give you guys to just work as hard as you possibly can. And then afterwards, again, we're going to do a short cool down for those that have to go, but then we're going to do a prolonged 30-minute kin stretch where we just work on getting more flexible, more mobile in the lower or the upper body. As far as our phases go, we change every couple weeks. So week 1 and 2, we're just doing a break-in phase where we're getting used to the program, and the soreness associated with the program. You will be pretty sore initially, so prepare yourself for that. But again, we're going to ramp things up a little bit every week. Weeks 3 and 5, we're building endurance by working on higher rep exercises as well as supersets. Okay, so a superset would be like, let's say I do a squat. Let's say I do like a squat, right? After the squat, I'm going to repeat something like a jump squat that is just another version of that exercise, but moving faster, right? That's going to help us to build some endurance. It's going to give us, again, some more muscle tone. But then we're going to finish with our intensity phase where we combine strength and volume work. And again, we're trying to get PRs at this point. We're working as hard as we can. We've kind of used everything else to build up to the final 3 weeks. We put in as much effort as we can, and we really kind of get it. And so some program notes just to think about. Number one, have you looked through your Trainerize yet? All right, I want to make sure that all of you understand Trainerize. Write down questions. Some of you have sent me questions about, what does this mean? What does that mean? That's good. That's what I want. I want to see that you are understanding what you're doing. You can also, if you're logging your food, you can connect your MyFitnessPal to Trainerize as well as any other apps like a Fitbit app or your Apple Health app, stuff like that. So you can kind of use Trainerize as like your hub to see all of your data if you're into that. All right, so in the plans section, there's several sections in the Trainerize dashboard. When you open up the app, you'll see like plans, calendar, messages, and then one other, I think, dashboard. When you go to the plans section, I include a pretty lengthy explanation of everything that I want you to do. But most importantly, I'm going to include several links to download workouts and stuff. And one of the PDF files that I include is going to say mobility and bodybuilding. And so those workouts are in there. All right. When you download the PDF file, it'll have like a template of what to do in those workouts, and you'll be able to click on each thing and it'll bring up like a video of the exercise itself. All right, for the metabolic workouts, for our fat loss option, I want you to alternate between Alter Ego and Filthy 30. All right, every couple weeks those will change. All right, but they will say Alter Ego and Filthy 30. It'll be like Alter Ego 2, Filthy 32. Do those workouts as your metabolics. Just make sure that when you do them, you're not super sore the next day. All right. If that is the case, you've worked a little bit too hard. You want to make sure that your heart rate is up, but again, you're not crawling out of there, because our main days we're focusing are on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I say only do one additional day, but if you're feeling it, you're not super sore, do two. But I recommend starting with one additional day, because the metabolic workouts are the one thing, like everything else you do on your off days, not including the bodybuilding workouts, not going to make you super sore. Metabolic workouts will. So you want to be careful with that and just make sure you kind of regulate how many days you do that. All right, so moving on to nutrition, our first option and probably the ideal scenario would be to log macros. All right, macros are simply the ratio of how many carbs, fat, and grams of carbs, fat, and protein that we eat, as well as the total amount of calories that we eat per day. And this sounds pretty complicated, but it's not. I'm going to present to you guys a formula that I like to do that in a second, but this would be the ideal because it gives us specifics. If what I try to do is I'll give this to you for 2 weeks. Typically with my clients that are doing this, I'll give it to them for 2 weeks. We'll measure body fat on a weekly basis. If they stall out, we'll just readjust the macros down, kind of depending on what we're doing. But this allows us to kind of almost be surgical in the way we go about things. I know it's not where a lot of people are. So I'm going to give you guys some other options as well. But if this is what we're going to do, some housekeeping. Number one, I want you to log your current level of calories in MyFitnessPal for 3 days. All right, and what that specifically means is, if we're going in and you're eating super low calories, all right, and your goal is to lose body fat, then if we drop them down more, your body's probably not going to do very well with that, because it's already kind of at a low set point. So it's just going to kind of shut things off. So it's going to be hard to lose body fat in that case. We might need to elevate calories a little bit. Okay. Whereas if you're eating a ton, we can just literally do it. We could just knock things down a little bit, go through the formulas as I show you. So again, it's just important to understand what we're doing. And then based upon that, we calculate our macros and create meals that kind of fit what our goals are, whether it be fat loss or whether it be muscle gain or what have you. What I recommend is creating 2 to 3 meals per week. Creating 2 to 3 options for each meal, and then just shopping for the option that you choose on a weekly basis. For example, like if I had eggs and bacon and let's say fruit or I'm sorry, strawberries for breakfast. I had like tilapia and I don't know, rice for lunch, and I had my dinner was like salmon and grits. That sounds horrible, but the point is that I would probably eat that for the majority of the week. I might have another day where I do, a second set of meals, but I'm shopping for those 2 days because if I'm trying to do something different every day, it makes things a lot more difficult and complicated. So that's my recommendation for you. You can do it however you want, but I'm just trying to make it as simple for you as possible. And if you're having trouble figuring out what your meals are, I included a couple macro generators, eat this much being one, where you can just plug your numbers in and it'll give you the specifics. It'll give you meal options. Okay, and so that's pretty useful. All right, so getting into our fat loss formula, this one's pretty simple. The way this works is we're going to calculate, to get our total number of calories, we're going to multiply our body weight from anywhere from 10 to 14. Now, one of the things that I have to emphasize is we always want to start on the high end of this. The lower we go, we only go lower when we need to, when we stall out. The reason we start higher is because if we start low, there's nowhere to go from there. If I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day and I drop down to 600, that's a much, smaller drop than if I start out at 2,500 and I go to 2,000. So we just have more room to work with, and the metabolism generally stays more active the higher we stay. So that's our goal. Now, with protein for this, the way that we determine our protein is just our body weight in protein. So like using me as an example, starting at, I'm 173 pounds, so I multiply my weight by 14, that's 2,422 calories. All right, so then I'm eating 173 grams of protein. I'm going to multiply that by 4, which is the amount of calories per gram, and or grams per calorie, and I end up getting 692 calories. Okay, now this is important because you can see one of the things that you'll see is that when we're generally eating, even if you're not doing macros, generally when you're trying to lose body fat, we want to eat a lot of protein. Okay, protein is kind of the most important element for that. So we're eating more protein when we're trying to lose body fat than if we're trying to gain muscle. All right, so that's always our first consideration. Secondly, we can just depending on how much fat we want in our diet. We can either go with a diet that, if we want to go low carb, we can calculate a little higher in our fat and have a little bit more fat in our diet. If we want to go, more moderate carb, we can calculate a little bit lower. I went on the higher end of fat just because, I'm sensitive to that. So what I did was multiplied 173 by 0.6, which is 104 grams of carbs multiplied by 9, which again is the number of grams per calorie of fat, and I got 936 calories. Now the final step would then be to add those two numbers together for protein and fat, which equals 1,629, and then subtract that number from total calories, okay, which comes out to 793 calories. I divide that by 4, and I get my total number of carbs per day, which is 198. Okay, so that might seem complicated, but just kind of look through this and think about it a couple times. It becomes a lot easier. Now we're talking about muscle gain macros. Again, for men, for us, again, always starting, for this one, we start a little bit lower and we go higher. So 18 is pretty conservative, but that's, where I want to start. And then again, I'm doing my measurements and stuff. So if I stall out in terms of, weight gain, then I'm going to add, maybe get a 19 or to 20. We just don't want to overshoot because again, we would start to gain more body fat. So we want to start low and then slowly go higher. So looking at this, looking at protein is body weight times 0.8, okay, which equals 138. So you'll notice body weight, protein is lower when we're trying to gain muscle. The more protein that we consume, the harder. Protein is harder for our body to burn off or to process, whereas carbs kind of equate to energy and put us in what is called an anabolic state where we're building muscle. So we actually want more carbs than protein in this particular iteration when we're trying to gain muscle. So again, 173 times 0.8 it equals 138 grams times 0.4, or I'm sorry, times 4 is 552. Again, I calculated fat on the higher end because I don't want to go too high in my carbs. So that would be 104 grams of carbs times 9 is 936. carbs are what is left over. So then I subtract that number from my total calories, which is I add protein and fat, which equals 1488. I subtract that from 3,114. I get the number 1626. I divide it by 4, and then I get 406 carbs a day, which is like a lot, but still, you get the idea. So nutrition option number 2 is kind of our big 5 habits, okay? And these are just habits that, again, if you don't want to think so much about macros and, it's too much, these are the key things that I want you to do to be successful, okay? So protein shake after each workout, include a portion of vegetables with each meal. If you're trying to lose body fat, make sure that you have a little bit more protein than carbs at each meal. If you're trying to lose body fat, you want to replace your carbs generally with servings of veggies. Whereas if you're trying to gain muscle, you want to replace your veggies with servings of carbs. And then taking time on Sunday to prepare your meals, or setting aside time during the week to prepare your meals. So some nutrition notes, all right? Saying that I gave you 2 options, I'm also going to include several different just diets that I've accumulated over the years that I've had, varying degrees of success with in the plan section of our Trainerize. I'll include those as downloads, all right? So you have our flexible dieting option, which is like carb cycling. You have a rapid fat loss diet, which is crazy. And again, if you're not where you want to be in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'd recommend doing that one. Meal and shake recipes, okay? And so those are really good and useful. And then our Eat Stop Eat, which is an intermittent fasting option. Like if you don't have time to do a lot of stuff, if you're pretty busy and you don't necessarily have time to prep meals and whatnot, Eat Stop Eat is a good option because you can just eat when you can, maybe 1 or 2 large meals, and fast for the rest of the day. And there's some people swear by this, others don't. I've seen people have great success with it, and I've had some people see no success with it. So it's just really up to what you can wrap your head around. The main thing is total calories in versus calories out, and then, getting your macros in. So accountability. How are we going to be held accountable through this program? Okay, number 1, in Trainerize, you can check into workouts. All right, everything that you do, I want you to check in. Okay, we're all going to be in a workout group together. And again, we're not going to be able to necessarily see what each other are doing other than checking in, but I want you to check in because that allows your fellow training partners to know that you're doing your stuff. All right, I am doing this program with you. I'm checking into my stuff on a daily basis. I want you to do the same thing. All right, we're all holding one another accountable. I'm going to constantly be posting in our group, again, trying to get everybody active. That's going to be a big deal. All right, this is as important for me as it is for you. So again, let's hold one another accountable. If you're coming to workouts, show up, okay, and perform the workouts as hard as you can. And then on Saturdays, again, this isn't a mandatory thing, but it is something that I would like everybody to do, at least on your own, is the weekly challenge workout. All right, these are going to be workouts that are going to just push us to our limits. Not that the other ones will not, but these are just going to be more fun. They're going to be a little bit shorter. These will probably be around 20 to 30 minutes. But again, we're just going to our maximum level. And again, just seeing what we can do, and we'll actually be scoring these challenge workouts. So, for example, I have one called the Pyramid of Pain, where we time how long it takes us to do 4 exercises up and down a rep pyramid. All right, and then we can, 2 weeks later, we'll do the workout again. So again, they're really fun. They're things that challenge you, and things that I want you to do on your own and post your times in our group, or come to workout or come to the gym on Saturday, work out with me, and yeah, it'll be great. And finally, what I'll also do is kind of a final thing is post what I call a weekly scorecard. Weekly scorecard is just going to be just ask you a couple questions about, did you do this today? Did you do that today? It's going to give me an idea of how you're doing and if you need to modify things. So please fill that out as well. This seems like a lot, but basically just check in on a daily basis in your app, and that's going to be the main thing. And again, we'll all get through this thing together. So the last thing that I want to talk about is fitness testing. All right, now this is optional. You don't have to do any of this, but for those that want to do this, all right, number 1, we're going to do body fat every week, and we're also going to weigh in every week. All right, this is going to be our indicator of aesthetic progress. If we start to stall out in these things, all right, from anywhere from more than 1 week, meaning like we might be, if we're the same weight 2 weeks in a row, then we need to make some adjustments on the nutritional ends. All right. We're also going to do optional pictures on the first and last week of the program. All right. Again, this is optional. You don't have to do it. I'm going to do it, hoping you do it. Let's do this thing together. And then for fitness, the first Saturday of the cycle, which means that not the Saturday, not this coming Saturday where I present this recording, but the next Saturday, we're going to do fitness testing for our lifts. So we're gonna see how strong you are in your squat, your deadlifts, et cetera, et cetera. Again, just to get a baseline. And then we'll do that on the last Saturday of the cycle as well. All right. We'll also have our challenge workout time. So again, just to be clear, challenge workouts are things that we time. We keep track of those times. It allows us to know how we're doing. It kind of gives us a good measure of cardiovascular endurance. So again, those are things that you can either keep to yourself or, you can come work out with us and we can all see. But I want you to, these are all optional things to do. But I think the more you participate in this, the more you show up, the more you're accountable, the more you measure, the more success you're going to get. Okay. And I really believe that if we do this thing together, I mean, again, there'll be errors, there'll be things that not everything is perfect. In the beginning, you'll be like, what the hell am I doing? But as we go along, we course correct and we try and we work and we make these adjustments as we go along. And that's the point. Nothing ever goes to plan 100%. So stick with it for 8 weeks. Let's work hard together. And I'm looking forward to getting started with the program on Monday.